Alright, so I'll put this one live, I'll put this one live, and then I'll put this one live, and then I'll start this recording. And
Yeah, this is better.
no, not at all.
No?
No, it has a directional angle.
Oh, okay. So I need to.
Well, if you keep it like this,
Yeah.
that'll be pretty nice. Trust me.
Okay. Yeah, it's just in my face.
Well,
but
I
it's
can just put it a little bit
yeah.
like this, but then it gets in your
Yeah.
hands. So
Mm. Yeah.
let's try
Okay.
this one.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are live. It's the 6th of August 2019, Tuesday, 8:14 p.m. I totally also forgot to put the Instagram post. Man, it gets complicated. So let's do the Instagram post first, right?
So
You said you have
Are we online?
yeah.
Okay.
You said you have account on Instagram, right? So I'll just tag you. But
Yeah.
first, let's make a selfie.
Okay.
I need to see.
Okay. Cool. Interesting.
So now put. Do you have any suggestions how to manage the hashtags the best? How to quickly put a lot of hashtags?
No,
No?
way. No. I'm not really detailed in the Instagram thing.
Really?
Actually. No. I just, if for example a picture is talking about nature, I put hashtag nature. That's it.
Oh, so you are quite basic when it comes to Instagram.
Yep.
See, I think it should be for everybody, but I definitely know it's not the case, right? Because there are people who just put a lot of hashtags in.
Yeah, it depends on the priority. I think, like, if for example you have in mind that you want to reach as many people as possible because some value you're giving or something through the picture or through the thing you're sharing, so maybe. But
Hashtag
Yeah.
Egypt, hashtag India, hashtag Denmark.
yeah.
I have India and USA as clickbait.
Uh-huh.
At least I try to have them. Egypt
Mhm.
and Denmark,
Yep.
and then. So do you remember your username?
It's Mahmoud Tiema, but if it was dot in between, I don't remember. So maybe you can try
Should
to
it
search.
should it show me once you
Let
finish
me
to
try.
write it? I don't know if it shows.
Let's see. Tiema.
Or maybe you can check online.
Yeah. There.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
With a dot and a TI?
Yeah.
Alright. So now posting it. Yep. So now you should get it the notification, right?
Good. Yep.
Alright. So that is out of the way. What brings you to Latvia and what are your impressions?
Okay.
Oh, let's start eat, right?
Yep. Let's do that. So,
And just a quick disclaimer: if anybody is offended by somebody eating on air, go away, please. All right.
yeah, I think it's more about trying to be natural, right, on air. What you're trying to convey.
The microphone will pick up our chewing sounds. I'm
Okay.
guaranteeing you that.
Wow, that's intense.
I know that-
have a lot of sound in my jaw.
And I know that 1 out of at least 100 people
Yeah.
are just going crazy when they hear chewing sounds on the microphone.
Uh-huh.
Whereas other people almost do you know the topic of ASMR? It's when people turn up the sensitivity of a microphone,
Okay.
like a studio microphone like this,
Yeah.
and then they just talk real slow and quiet, and just and then it's not really necessarily to talk, right? Some people just put some object and then they go to the microphone
Okay.
and they do that for hours.
Is that like what? What is it?
It's supposed to be almost therapeutic to calming people down.
Okay.
And so some people do that,
Mm-hmm.
and other people just go on YouTube and watch those. I mean, there's even videos of rain.
Okay. Oh yeah, that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
so what brings you to Latvia? What are your impressions?
Yes. So why I'm in Latvia? It's one of the stops. So I'm basically traveling. I was traveling through Europe and Asia, and this is one of the stops. That's why I'm traveling. Yeah, I wanted to visit the Baltics, and yeah, so one of the stops basically. Did not, because when I'm traveling, I don't really have a lot of preconceived knowledge about the place I go to,
Mm-hmm.
but I can receive like a recommendation for someone, and yeah, and just trust my instinct on it and just go, basically.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And so what my impressions are, there is, I like the so
You can be honest.
yeah, of course. Oh, I'm always. Don't worry. So, nature-wise, I like the small lake aspect in the middle of the town, like in between the old town and the other part, like the small lakes and small park somehow.
Yep.
I like the nature of it, and like the trams, which is like brings me to somehow Lisbon, that kind of vibe.
The old type of trams.
Yeah, the old yeah, and Budapest also they have.
No.
Yeah, so that's nice. I like Budapest a lot, so it's nice. So it's mainly that they preserve something old,
Yep.
which is the idea about it, I think, which I like. And also the buildings, you find buildings from the 1800s, early 1900s still. Beautiful architecture, I like the architecture. Here, Old Town is beautiful, and yeah, and the somehow the community, because I'm here when there is like the concert, so the young community is very alive, I could see, but I don't know, of course, about other times, but it seemed alive. I have not really like interacted a lot with people except a few basically, and some people in the supermarkets, but yeah, it seems okay. People seem okay. What more? Yeah, I was on a walking tour. I saw a lot of different aspects of the city, especially the architecture. So yeah, that's I have to talk about. And it seems not so busy, not so intense, not so quiet too. So it's something in between.
It's the vacation period, right? Summer.
Yeah, but for example, like when I was in Hong Kong, that's like people are very busy and very work oriented in China in general, like especially Hong Kong.
Yep.
So here it was not that intense. It's just normal, like other European countries basically. So it's in the middle. Yeah, my all around is pretty positive, I would say.
What's your next stop?
Yes. So it's Vilnius in Lithuania. Yeah.
Do you have a goal to visit a certain amount of countries, or?
Actually, not really. So my goal since I started was just to travel, and just see the world and see inside myself, because I believe that travel is to open doors inside and outside of yourself. So basically, learn from people, learn from yourself, experience something different with places, with people, with yourself, and basically just be able to absorb whatever comes up and see whatever experience rises, and just be able to deal with it differently. And then you learn from doing also different kinds of aspects or different kinds of things you have not done before. Then you grow in this way. So it's not really about visiting as many countries or anything. It's more about just the experience and just seeing where the experience takes me. And if it's gonna be a specific place for 2 days, 1 day, that's okay. If it's gonna be a month, it's also okay. It's not about being in a place more than experiencing it. And if I feel that the experience can take longer at this place, then I stay. Like for example, I stayed in Chiang Mai, for example, in Thailand, more than around 2 months. Hong Kong also around 2 months. So opportunities arise, and then I experienced something different. Then I stayed.
It seems to me that you are already fairly experienced.
Everything can grow.
I mean, I've seen quite a few world travelers, right? You are probably fairly well versed in the world already.
Oh, thank you.
So, what's next? It's not like you could travel just all your life, and because at one point in time you'll get to a point of deja vu.
Yeah, it comes. So now, because it comes. Sometimes it comes, and sometimes I'm like, what do I do now? You know, I have every place is similar to the other one. So that's also why I stay a little bit longer in one place. Now it's a little bit more that I stay a little bit longer. I just and also in Sweden I stayed. Actually, Sweden, I stayed more than 1 month. So it's more now that I want to contribute something, and because I have seen so many places and stuff, so it's like, okay, what can I do while traveling and also give to the people or whatever? Because if it's self-defense, if teaching self-defense or doing psychotherapy and all that, or talks, something like that, if I can do that while traveling, then that's what's next, I think. So it's about traveling, but plus that I do that more.
So how much do you use Instagram?
Pretty not much.
Because you can just market yourself as the traveling psychotherapist, right?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yes.
Because people, I'm surprised by it myself. People use a lot Instagram. They use it a lot. So everything you do can be accelerated probably 10 times by just using Instagram more directly towards your goals. So you like to travel, so you already have, I don't know, 10 hashtags lined up for Insta traveling and all those sorts of things. And then if you say you are teaching self-defense and therapy sessions, that's probably another 10 hashtags more. And then off you go.
Good idea. Yeah.
Well, it seems to me, what do you actually do? Have you studied psychology? Or?
Yeah, so I finished medical school, and while I was doing medical school, I always was a keen reader in psychology. And I took, so when I was doing my medical school, and especially when I finished medical school, then I would go to CBT courses.
CBT?
It's cognitive behavioral therapy, so cognitive therapy and behavioral therapy.
All right.
And hypnotherapy I also did. And then I would read in different aspects in psychology, and also attend with different lectures in different psychology fields. And I worked in the psychiatric department in Egypt, so as a volunteer for a year. So it was some kind of practice, volunteership practice in the psychiatric department for a year. So hypnotherapy and that. And while traveling, I think the most part where I get to really know and experience psychology and psychotherapy and all that when I travel,
Forget about the traveling psychotherapist, the traveling hypnotist.
I think that's cool, but the problem with that is hypnosis is a little bit stigmatized now, in
I don't
different
know.
places.
Well, maybe some places, yeah, but
Yeah,
you are probably not interested in them in the first place.
yeah. It's because people are now seeing hypnosis as stage hypnosis. Like you go up on a scene and then you're like click click and everyone is sleeping. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's not really true. You know, it's not really like that. Like actual hypnotherapy is a bit different. Hypnotherapy is not hypnosis. It's not stage hypnosis. It's different.
But
Yeah.
you would be able to do also stage hypnosis.
No, I don't do stage hypnosis. No.
Why wouldn't you?
I think it's not. Uh, it's not really ethical in a way. If you can use it to prove a point, yes.
Even if it's a consenting adult.
Yeah. But it's like, what do we need just to make a show from it, and
Yeah.
then, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's for people. But for me, I'm more interested of the healing aspect of hypnosis. And I think I see a lot of the stage hypnosis is a little bit too exaggerated, and definitely they have them. You know, like they know each other and they are making some agreement upon they should.
Oh, you mean
go
it's
on.
acting?
Yeah. I don't say everything they do is like that, but some people of them it's too much. It cannot happen. Like my studying in hypnotherapy tells me this is way too fantasy oriented. That's why it's like a little bit hypnotherapists in general are like a little bit, it's because hypnotherapy is different than stage hypnosis. Stage hypnosis is more like I make you believe that I can make you sleep in that and then you lose everything, but it's not like that. If you want to resist me, you can resist me.
Yep.
You know, it's about some people are more highly suggestible, are very suggestible. I can suggest something for them very easily,
Yep.
and then they can go along with me. But it's not like everyone is just like that at all.
What's the best profile you would give a person to be in the 21st century civilized world? Because they probably should be a little bit suggestible people, right? But they also shouldn't be really gullible and naive, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Can you formulate it a little bit differently, the first part?
Well, do you have an opinion how a modern human being in a civilized society should be when it comes to the suggestion? How much he should be? Is it the word suggestible? No,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's fairness. So I would say first thing when we grow up, I will elaborate on that question, but I need to say a
Go ahead.
little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, when we grow up, since our childhood, we have been programmed with different knowledge or different programs, basically. Since
Do you mean specifically programmed? Because programming sort of sounds like intentional manipulation.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say it's not like the conspiracy series. No, it's not. That's what I mean. It's not what I mean. I mean more that when we grow up, we see our fathers, our mothers, our school system do something or teach us something, and then that becomes like a program and inserted.
We acquire
basically.
Some behaviors.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So we acquire some behaviors or acquire some specific programs, that kind, and then with those kind of set thoughts, which triggers emotions, which triggers behavior. Okay. We are set, and then when we come to the teenage, then we are like trying to understand everything, and then we conflictions happen with those predisposed thoughts. Then we are like faced with another reality, with another kind of thought, because now we have our own mind, our own perception of the world, and that conflicts with the other programs we have and with the environment and all the conflicts in that kind of age.
All right.
So when we begin going out of that zone, and I will say that is a traveling zone or the exploring zone, then we need to have, first of all, just asking an open question. Just be able to be open for any answer, basically. So asking the question, being open for any answer.
In the teen years? Do you mean in the...
So the
adolescence?
exploring age. The exploring age is different than anyone. Everyone is a little bit different.
But do you mean a specific age as in a number?
No, not at all. Everyone is different. Some
So
people,
somebody would be 40 years old and...
yeah.
Ah.
Some people
Oh, yeah.
do have are living in a conflict and cannot really get to that stage until they die, actually. So some people are more of the, and they just stay at the same place. They have been born. Of course, it's not everybody who has been born in a specific place and lived there is like that. But some people cannot really get any. If they try to open up, they become scared and then they close again. So they cannot really go out of the stage.
What does, in that case, to open up mean?
Open up means that,
Explore?
yeah, that you are not afraid of really looking into yourself and looking into the outside. So you are not stuck in your comfort zone. That's exploring.
Would it be possible for somebody to have such a nice comfort zone that it wouldn't be objectively even needed to go outside of it?
He will always, what I used to believe in, that he will always be limited. His intellect will always be limited because he have not connected with anything more, because intellect is connecting with different things and be able to see the differences and the similarities in stuff, in different things. But if you're stuck in your comfort zone, you'll never be able to see outside of that. Then you will not really explore your inner self, your real self, and the environment.
What if you've been born to superbly rich parents that have given you everything? You have almost everything that you would ever need. All right, that's your comfort zone. It's pretty nice. It's not like you should go outside in the woods, right? Just to make you tougher. You have everything you need. It's nice.
But if you always have everything you need, you'll never be challenged.
Well, they can challenge you to go to an elite university, for instance. Right?
Exactly. Then he will be challenged.
Oh, so it's not
about
that
going
it's
out
not
of
that
the
big of a
comfort
challenge. Then let's be honest.
Yeah, but it's going
Yeah,
out. of
go read
the
some
comfort
books and do some tests.
zone. Some people, it's a lot of challenge for them. So it really depends.
Some, of course.
It's about the individuals themselves and what they feel, what is out of their comfort zone. But if you don't challenge yourself enough to be out of that, then the growing will not be as much.
But sounds quite subjective, right? Because it means somebody has a comfort zone bigger than another. And so somebody is quite confident in doing some things and other people wouldn't be confident in doing the same things. And so would you be able to say, all right, when it comes to the general well-being of a human being, this is the minimum of the comfort zone and this is the minimum a person should be able to go outside of it to actually live at least 80 to 90% of his full potential, sort of like that.
Okay, so let me elaborate on the comfort zone thing first, because so what I meant about going out of the going to the traveler zone or going out of the comfort zone, that's the initial one.
You mean
afterwards,
just overcoming your own barriers?
Yes, and afterwards, then you will be in a comfort zone which you have created your own.
Yeah, you're bigger.
Yeah,
you expand it.
Exactly, and then your comfort zone will expand. Yes.
Yeah.
Because you will be comfortable with different approaches.
And so that's what I mean.
Yes.
But we have limited abilities still, right? We have limited physically, so it means we have some limitations.
Of course, everyone.
But there should be some average. You could say, all right, this is the minimum that a quote-unquote normal human being should be able to have as a comfort zone.
Yeah, I believe that for everyone is different. So whatever environment you live in, and when do you feel like, can you be with people or in a different environment and still feel peaceful? and safe in that kind of sense.
Not if you want to fart really bad, right?
That's a good one. That's a good one, because so that's a limitation. That's a limitation where everyone is different, and also it don't only depend on the level of spirituality or whatever. It depends also on what you have been accustomed, which is good, and a good person, and a hygienic or whatever person or not. So for example, if you lived in the woods and stuff, that will not mean you just fart everywhere. You are with people and you fart. That does not mean you are more of a spiritual person or you're more in peace with yourself, but it's just because you was not attached by that action. You're not attached by values with that action. You're not attached by, okay, if you do this, then you are not a good person, then you are a disgusting one. So that's just an action which does not really mean that you are more in the self-actualized place.
That's what I mean. Should it be would it be possible to say objectively that yes, in the 21st century, in a civilized society, in the Western world, for instance, people should be able to fart in business meetings? Because there's no real objective need to stigmatize anybody who has eaten some beans in the morning, right?
Yeah, you mean, is it possible, you mean, or?
Yeah, because now if somebody would let one rip during a business meeting, everybody would be quite shocked.
Yes.
Right? But it's only natural in a sense.
Yes.
Right? So shouldn't people be sort of comfortable with being natural or being themselves in the moment, sort of?
Yeah, I would say this is the perfect...
And try not to eat beans in the morning, sort of. Right?
Yeah.
You just compromise.
Yeah, and just follow your intuition. I would say this is a perfect world, okay? But people are different, and everyone, as we said, have different associations with different actions. So for example, if I am very highly associated with farting, for example, I could have been in school and I got a lot of bullying since I did that, for example, for 6 years. This is very attached, maybe traumatic even, right? So that's more difficult for him to eat beans if he goes to work. But someone else who we said less susceptible, then he is normal. But then it comes to the one himself, and then it comes to the surrounding ones, the ones in the environment. We cannot really control the ones in the environment. We can only control our own.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
Well, wouldn't it be more valuable for you to be not just an individual therapist, but also a societal engineer? You know what I mean?
A what? So
a societal engineer.
So sorry, societal.
Because if you...
What is that? Engineer?
An engineer?
No, you said some the
societal.
Societal. Okay.
Yeah. So in a sense that if you help individual people overcome their sort of mental barriers and stuff like that, shouldn't you be also sort of concerned about collective? Right? Because if you help individuals and you help several individuals, you sort of already helped a group. But maybe that group is not really tight knit. Maybe there are some separate people in the country, for instance.
Yes.
But other than that, you would be interested in actually. I use the word manipulation in a good sense, right? You would be interested in manipulating the whole society to help you should be concerned about doing therapy on the whole society, right?
Yeah, that's a good one, because that's actually what I aim for, but in a different sense. So what I believe that, we are working with individuals, but to be able to impact a bigger change, then you work with societies. But to be able to make that impact for a society, you need to first work with people, individuals.
Is it true? Because I'm guessing it's too much work to go just one by one by one. It would be better to actually make the example or the basic scenario as widely observable as possible, so everybody else could just look at it as a sort of best practice sort of depiction.
Yeah, so good. Because the thing is, you don't have to sit with one alone to be able to only talk to him, but you can have like seminars where you have 20, 50, 100 people, even 500 people, and then talk to those people as individuals. So that's what I mean about affecting individuals, or you can make one book and also affecting individuals. So that's what I mean about individuals. It's not about just sitting one by one, one with one, but the difference between the societal thing where you are what I understood about you're talking about is more about going to companies, for example, and making them work together and structuring something specific to a specific group or something like that. So that's an approach, and that's an approach. So both approaches, I believe, are very impactful, because an individual, when you talk with a group, and you talk with them about self-development and how they can manage stress, whatever it is, spirituality, then it's individualized also, right? But when you talk with a specific group, then it's the whole group about how they can work together and how they can assist each other and all
like
that cooperation. Yeah. So that kind of thing is also good, and the individual is also good. So if you do the individual and also do the cooperation between them, then that's a whole society. So
is it though? Because what about the politicians?
Yeah,
they don't fall in anywhere, right?
The politicians, I would say they are the same. There's also groups. So it's also a group, like, for example, if you work with the left wing, whatever, if you work with the right wing, and then it's also a kind of group. That's
sort of, but it doesn't have the same motives as a company. Right? A company wants to have its systems more efficiently so they make a bigger profit, for instance, whereas the political company might be really, really subjective and selfish.
Yeah, but it's also a group. It's if you, for example, take every what they call it, political party, it's also a group. So it's groups of people, but it have different concepts.
It's a group in the sense that you can put it on paper as one entity.
Yes,
but it doesn't really mean that the people inside that entity really identify with the entity or the whole group, right? It's not really an organism that is really so tightly attached as an biological organism.
Yeah, and no group is like that. Even companies, companies even have some people, for example, to come just to make the sound system and then leave, right? So it's every group has strong attaches, which are like the foundation of that group, and then you have got some other people which are loose. It's same with political parties also.
But here's what I don't get. The way you described your approach to the individual and group therapy, in a sense, right? It seems to me that it is sort of masking the symptoms of society, right? Meaning that society is many times miserable because they do things that they don't enjoy, right? And they do them not because they just because they are masochistic. They do them because they don't see any alternatives, right? Which might be true. Which might as well be true. Because if you have, let's say, 50, you literally are just thinking, how many years till retirement, and what are my options if I lose my job, all those things. So in a sense, if you would give people not just hope, but a real alternative to what they are doing currently, I mean, switching from one job that they don't like to a possible job that they might like, right, while not losing out on any of the, let's say, material wealth needed to sustain themselves sufficiently, could be the best therapy in the world, right?
Yeah, so what you described is an approach, right? Which actually...
Like a method?
Approach. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Approach is... since, for example, if you come in to me when I'm sitting there, so I'm seeing what approach I will approach you with from the start.
But it's not a method.
It's a kind of method, but method is more what I like in my dictionary. It's a method is more like it's also an approach is a method, but a method is not an approach. So a method is when I are with you, we are talking, then I use different methods to talk to you and different
Okay.
methods to. But
Okay,
an
and
approach
that
is from the.
and that is an approach.
Huh?
And that is an approach.
No, an approach is a method, but a method is like different methods can be an approach, but in the beginning. So how I approach the problem. But methods can be also in the middle of the talk. But an approach is from the start. It's like the
Okay.
bigger thing. That's how I understand it.
So the approach would be just the attitude or the impulse,
Not really attitude, but it's also a kind of method.
the framework.
It's an approach. So
You mean methods are smaller than approaches?
yes, approaches are like the from the start.
So methods constitute a whole approach.
Can in between, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So what you were describing is from what were you saying about the approach where, for example, about the one who wants to travel or wants to. Okay, that's the best thing you could do, right?
I mean, the general approach to therapy would be
Yeah.
to find the best alternative to the things that make people miserable or not enjoying themselves, sort of, right?
Yeah. So my general approach is I see what the one he needs, what he needs in his life, what is his main goals, what is his main values, basically.
Can there be a situation where the people don't really know their goals, or at
Exactly.
least they cannot express them verbally?
Exactly. That's why we work first with the values. So we
Mm.
see what kind of values, what kind of things. When, for example, we start asking questions. When do you really feel happy or joyful? You know, it says, for example, yeah, when I read. What do you feel when you read? Why? What is there about reading? What do you read about? You know,
Isn't
then we
there-
realize the values. But it's not only about that. There are certain techniques where you use to get really the values. If it's peace, if it's mercy, if it's generosity, whatever value it is, then we work through the values to see what goals you want to achieve in life. And then we see, okay, what do we need afterwards? Are you really miserable, or are you happy and content with the job you're now doing? You know, so every case is different than the other one. So it's everyone is different, but that's different. One-to-one is different than when I talk with masses. When I talk with masses, you need to let them see what kind of values they have, how they can achieve those values, and then what goals they want to have in life. You know, and then they can decide by their own what is best for them to achieve those goals. If it's to leave their job, if it's to stay with the job, that's their own. But we have some measures they can use so that they can feel fulfilled. And that's basically like a simple thing is, how do you feel content and peaceful? You know, that's just a basic one, you know, because if you are just living in a hell all of your life, that's what we don't want, you know.
What does that mean?
Hell.
Hell.
Yeah. So it's hell inside.
Hmm?
When do you feel peaceful, or do you need this kind of torturing yourself, or what do you really need? Everyone is different, you know. So
Are they though? I mean, maybe you can call me too simplistic minded, but I would say that if you would get honest answers from people, they would be just so vain. At least most of them. That's vain in a sense that so plainly instinctual and plainly animalistic, right? I'm not saying that there are no people who would be inclined to have sort of higher goals and moral values, right? But dude, when I see other dudes, all I'm just seeing is some gorilla with just fancier thumbs.
Okay. So so I believe that there is a lot of instinct in it, but we also long for different things. We long for variety, for security, for that kind of things.
Wouldn't you say that physiological
Uh-huh.
basics
Yes.
are pretty few? Pretty few. I mean, very few.
Yeah.
So all people are governed by those few physiological principles,
Yes.
right? Or at least most. Let's just the overarching majority
Yeah.
is governed by those. So wouldn't you say that those also are the real motives in everything that people do, or at least most of what they do? It's just that whether or not they have the capacity to cover them up with more fancier answers, right?
Yeah, when they are filled, most of the people, when those like food, sleep, sex, okay, when those are fulfilled.
But what does it mean fulfilled? Because at one point, yeah, you haven't even touched your food almost. But basically, when you eat and you feel full, you know that yeah, at this time you're full, but you will get hungry again, right?
Yes.
It doesn't stop.
Yes.
It doesn't stop. So all those basic fundamentals, they don't stop.
Yes.
It's not like you will be full and then that's it. Now you can approach some higher goals.
Okay.
You will come back. You'll come back for more.
That's very good said. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. But the thing is, everyone has a different threshold. Most of the people are like that. They are chasing their needs, that food. But the thing is, everyone has a different threshold. So as you said, whenever you are full, there come a time when you are hungry, right? So some people have a 1 hour time interval. It depends also on how much they ate, right? Some people have 2 hours, some have 4 hours, some can stay 24 hours and are very spiritual, and don't really touch a food. Some people have been recorded to stay away from food 12 days and not really eat anything. So everyone has a specific threshold. Most of the people are, their threshold is low, and that depends on their psychological nutrition, we can call it, their psychological state, and their body state and their spiritual state. So if they are ill, for example, then what happens is the appetite, for example, it increases or decreases, right? The same thing with the spirituality. If you increase spiritually, you can decrease your food because now you have different kind of food. And so everyone is different, and we cannot really label people and just say that's 1, 2, 3, right? The thing is, answering to your question about so everyone is different on the threshold level. So there must be the psychological needs are always there. So when we say someone is satisfied and you have an hour interval, okay? You are satisfied from everything now. Now you have 1 hour. You have some needs and you have some psychological needs in you, right? And those psychological needs, they don't just go away. Even if you're hungry, they're still there. And they might influence your hunger. And if you are very busy in work, for example, those are very low conscious. If they feel valuable when they do some work, then they might not eat. Even those people who are very low conscious, they might be so absorbed in what they are working and they lose track of food, and they don't eat the whole day sometimes.
Yeah, but they still will eat. They still will eat.
Yeah, but their interval will be like extended, maybe 5 hours, maybe 10 hours. So that's what I mean about there is psychological needs. When those psychological needs are fed, then it also influences the physical needs. It can be stronger than them. Even the low conscious people.
It's difficult to believe.
I have seen many examples.
No, I'm not arguing that people can actually make their mind work against their physiology, sort of overcome their physiology. It's what I'm saying is, at one point, would you be willing to say that is a symptom of mental disturbance when you are a human being that has objectively, as a bipedal mammal, some type of physiological needs? Anthropologists and biologists know them, right? Describe them. and you are psychologically trying to yet disprove them wrong, or prove them wrong, right? I can do this, I can overcome this, right? What's the point? I mean, wouldn't you be more of a quote unquote natural person if you would just give in to your impulses and urges, and then you add your psychology, so you just don't go rape all over the town, but you are sort of becoming attractive enough to just have, let's say, intercourse in a society friendly way, right? But you still are motivated and you are moved by the urges. It's just that you use your psychology to put in some type of discipline and to maneuver it, right? But you still don't work against it. You just sort of lead it, right? And so that's why I'm asking you whether or not that should be some type of threshold itself, whether or not some person is working his psychology against his physiology or working to facilitate his physiology.
Yes. Okay. So what I can understand from your question is about, is it that you're facilitating your psychology or you're working against it, right?
Yeah.
No one is working. What I believe in, you don't work against your your physiology, but it's just you're postponing. You're postponing because of the threshold, right? Except if you have certain things. For example, if you want to take your life out, right? Then you work against your physiology. Your physiology is telling you.
You mean suicide?
Suicide, yeah.
Huh.
You want, and then you don't want to eat because you want to suicide. And if you're, for example, in jail and you cannot use any method of suicide, for example, then you try to starve yourself to death, right? You're working against it. The urges are just coming more and more, and you're just resisting it. With sex, for example, some people, Muslims, for example, or very religious people, we don't have sex, and then it's like, okay. Then you resist the urge, and then you try to manipulate it in different ways. You try to put it somewhere else, right? So you are trying to work because of the belief system you have, mental state and psychological state you have.
Yeah, the psychology.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you are managing those. So you try to work. You are trying to work in favor with what you believe in, against your own needs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The best way to do it is guided. Guide your physiology according to your psychology and your mentality. That's the best way. How to
What's
guide
the
it
difference
most
between
possible.
mentality and psychology in that case?
So
Mentality sounds like it's just some temperament.
yeah. So your mentality, your mental state is where
Mental fitness?
yeah, it's more about your way of thinking, which is a part of psychology.
That sounds like an
yeah,
approach.
yeah, it's a part of psychology, but it's more about the thinking aspect. So we can say the thinking aspect and the emotional aspect, basically.
So the rational.
Yeah, the rational and the emotional.
Okay.
So how to guide both? Okay.
Wait a second. You need to guide the rational,
Yes, you need to guide the
or
rational.
you just need to give it better tools.
You need to guide it and give it tools also, because what is the tools and what is the guidance? The guidance is that you use it because
the
we
tool
can think about
is the knowledge, right? Some fact, for instance. If you know a fact,
yes.
you will make the decision according to the fact. If you don't know it, you might make a decision that will actually go against your real interests simply because you were ignorant. But it's the same rationality, just with or without knowledge.
Okay, can you formulate that again?
Well, you mean
The
just
thing
in a
about the
different
tools
way?
and guide, because we are not the rationale and we are not the emotions.
Well, no, what I'm saying is the rationality is sort of basic in every level. It's just a matter of whether or not your processing of information has the needed information. If it doesn't, your processing of the information will be really shallow.
Yes.
So, and you could say, he made an irrational decision, right? Because well, he's just irrational. He has to improve his rationality, right? Whereas it might be the case that his rationality is fine. He just needs better tools, i.e., facts, information, knowledge, and then he can make the decision according to the real logical steps that are needed. I'm just saying whether or not there is real possibility to grow rationality, because I would imagine every person is rational, but they don't make the best choices or decisions because not everybody has the same knowledge base. Not everybody has the same tools.
Yes. So tools is different than knowledge, I believe. Tools are more like a way of thinking, concepts of thinking, how you think. Okay, but knowledge is very different for everyone, and sometimes you can forget something and then you don't have that in your knowledge, and then you act irrationally according to other people, but to your knowledge it's rational because it's only that kind of knowledge you have. So but most of the people always act rational according to what they see now. Even when you are angry, you're acting rational according to your state now, because your state now is you are angry. Then the other things you don't really see them, you know, and you see only the ones who trigger your emotions, which is in that field. So you're always acting rational, actually. Like if you think it like that.
All right, I kind of get it.
Different than other rationales, because other people have different tools, have different wisdom, have different knowledge in aspect.
So you would say everybody is just acting rational from their own point of view?
Yes. And the tools is more like, for example, if you have a concept, the tools is more like a predisposed thought, which is stuck there for a long time. So for example, if you think like, just any thought, racist thought, for example, like any black are lazy or whatever it is, you know, then you have that as a tool where you lead by. And even if you have all the knowledge that actually black people made a community in every country they go to, and they're very nice and peaceful and all that, even if you have all that knowledge and you have that kind of concept or background, then they will inflict with hit each other. And then what wins more, if your knowledge wins more, then that thought will be changed, and that kind of knowledge will be fixed idea, will be a tool which you lead by afterwards, which will be your initial response whenever you see a black.
Well, it just sounds like you are describing a generalization which gets more nuanced.
Gets more
nuanced. Well, you
understand.
You increase your knowledge about a topic.
Yes.
So you don't have that type of generalization. You can make also distinctive decisions, or you can actually differentiate between situations.
Yeah, you are purifying your subconscious, basically.
But you can still to speak. Well, if somebody before said black persons are lazy, now he could say, well, most black persons are lazy.
Yeah, it's like a threshold. Right? It decreases.
Yeah.
Until you really come to a point where you are non-judgmental. That's the perfect position to be in, where you don't even have to have something in the subconscious, you know?
Well, but do you mean to not be judgmental in the sense that you are letting everybody live their own way? Because then it's also a little bit risky, right?
So what does non-judgmental, you can never be non-judgmental in the first place, okay? But I mean, when I say you should be non-judgmental, is that
or maybe you mean non-comparative. You shouldn't compare somebody with somebody else or yourself.
Yeah, so comparing, you compare because you have a judgment. So, for example, if you have...
Do you? I mean, you can see somebody and don't be offended or don't want to teach him something else, but you can definitely look at him and say, well, I'm glad that's not me. Right? Is that judgmental? It's definitely comparative.
Yes.
Because you compare him to yourself, but is that judgmental?
So that's why I said in the beginning, you cannot not judge, because if you judge an action, so there is a difference between that's judging an action, right? But you are not judging himself as being a bad person. That's the difference.
Okay.
So when, for example, you see someone stealing and then he goes to jail, right? So the initial reaction in your mind, he's a thief, for example, that's a judgment on himself. But if you just judge the act, which is the thing we should more do, not judge that person himself. So that's the difference when you judge the action.
But what's the point in judging actions? You just have to have a certain type of profile of people also, because people are people. It's not like they are robots that just misbehaved at some point, right? The reason, there is a reason why they misbehaved.
Yes.
And so if the reason is still there, they might misbehave again.
Yes, but if we, for example, say that he's a thief, then it means that he's always stealing, right? So that's what I'm trying to say, that maybe he have stolen once, but he will not steal again. But if we label him as a thief, then we don't see him different than his action, but we are different than our actions. Because he stole once, he gave money to poor people once also. So should he be, for example, should he be a thief or should he be a generous person in our own mentality, you know? Because then we have two things which are conflicting each other. Then
it doesn't sound like a conflict. It just sounds like romanticizing an almost non-existent scenario.
Yes, there is indeed. There is many people who are.
Look, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If you are a person in a certain society, and that society has more than clearly described what they won't tolerate. One of the things being taking other people's property, for instance, right?
Yes.
Now you can have your justification saying that it wasn't really for me, but in that respect you would also need to be able to say it wasn't really for me, but I understood what I'm doing, and so I'm willing to take the consequences. And then you as the moral high ground person achieved your aim. You, let's say, took the properties from somebody who didn't need it so much and gave it to somebody who really needed it, right? So you achieved your goal already. Now you can be satisfied. You achieved your goal, but you also have to take the responsibility and say, yep, I understood what I did, and I'm willing to take the consequences.
Yeah, but the thing is not to judge that guy as a thief, for example, or as someone who takes things, because as you said, the motive is different, and it's not always he acts like that. That's why the judgment should be on the actions and not that person himself. Because different times, for example, if you get angry one time, right? That does not mean that you are always angry, that you are an angry person. Right?
But see, that's the thing. When it comes to adjudication, for instance, and just court decisions, they do make the distinction between, this person hasn't really shown any similar behavior beforehand, right? It's not like he's a constant thief. So they do actually recognize the fact that this was out of his character.
Good. That's what I try to say. That when actually also, I've heard also in the Egyptian court they say that it presents that he have stolen and not he's a thief. So it's about the action. That's what I'm trying to say. That just about the action itself and not just labeling people and putting stamps on them.
But at some point you have to put labels on it, because then it's just more useful for society to navigate.
It's easier, it's easier, but it's much more closed-minded. Because then whatever you do, I act upon what I have perceived of you. But the thing is to detach that, and then I can, when I talk with you, and I don't anticipate a thing. Because if I just put a label on you and say, for example, okay, now I'm gonna talk with the angry guy, then whatever I say, I anticipate you to get angry, and then I become defensive. So the initial best thing is not to put a judgment, not to put a label on you, because then I can interact with you as a human being and not be just minded by something you would do, and just be able to be in the present moment with you.
There is the possibility of having a bias against somebody if you know he has done something, right? But there is no way when it comes to that, because I'm looking for what would be the most natural way of behaving, right? And so if there is, because people are accustomed or evolved to recognize patterns
Mm-hmm.
and to anticipate
Mm-hmm.
certain continuation of patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So once people, let's say, know, and well, sort of not just one fact but several facts about a person that creates a pattern, just it can be recognized as a pattern, that there's no doubt about it, right? Once there is a pattern, I wouldn't say that it is really useful for them, for those people, then to sort of try to ignore the pattern, because the pattern is some type of, well, I wouldn't say signal or symptom, but it's definitely some useful information to recognize, in a sense that once you have, let's say, an interaction for a job interview, right? And then the employer sort of, I don't know, has Googled you or whatever the case may be, but he has found out that you were employed in the last 3 years at 5 employers. All those employers fired you because you didn't come to work, right?
Yeah.
And then once he found out, he found out also that you had a criminal record. Well, for instance, right? You had your last sentence was, for instance, 2 years ago, right? So you are definitely a criminal person in your past, right? Once he has those two facts together, there is no judgment anymore, right? It's just an anticipation of a pattern. I mean, let's be honest. Certain behaviors are cyclical for people, and it's not the question whether a person could change. Yes, most people can change. It's the question about the functionality of the result that you are seeking. Because if you are the employer and you look at the facts, and the only decision you need to make at that point is not whether or not that person can change, whether the person has changed, whether the person is actually a nice guy, right? The only question you need to ask yourself is whether or not this person might be a risk to as an employee for me, right? And then at that point, yes, you could say, of course, he made a judgment of character, for instance, but it's not about the person in general, right? It's about the identity of him being a possible employee at the employer. So if the employer needs a reliable employee, and he has a certain person applying to a job which he recognizes has so much of the patterns that he doesn't seek, it's just a natural it's just a natural, logical way of saying, yes, you seem not fit for the job, in a sense, right? Even though maybe the skills required for the job are the ones he possesses, right? But if he has the record, if he has the past with all those several employers, right, then the new possible employer has to actually to recognize the pattern. Otherwise, he would be foolish. That's just a fact. He would be foolish, right? And it's not about, again, not about the human being being judged for his entire life, right? But the employer who doesn't know him personally, who hasn't seen him grow and develop or whatever, he has to base his decisions on the information he can get, and so the information he gets definitely shows a pattern, definitely shows a trend, and so the trend leads a logical person to make a conclusion that's not favorable for that particular employee, right? And then whether or not it is socially valuable to have such a system in the first place, that you would actually need to make decisions about people. Why couldn't you just let them prove themselves, right, or something like that? It's just an economical and sort of efficiency question.
Yeah.
Because if it's a matter of we are a company, we need to make a profit, I need reliable and competent people. It's not about you as a person born and raised. It's about you as a possible tool for my clock that I need to run, right? For my business that I need to run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of numbers almost.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have a pattern, once you have certain facts that are objective, I mean literally objective. There was the thing in the past, it happened again, and this happened.
Yeah.
You get it all together, you make the reasonable conclusion that it's a trend. It's definitely something that is occurring more than once, right? So in case he has some type of reason to believe that those occurrences were related to some different cause, that it's not really the case anymore. But again, that could be anything, right? Maybe he knows he was an immigrant, and at that time there was a big problem with the immigration laws and whatever. But if it's not the case, if he hasn't no other information, he just looks at it and says, yes, this person has shown himself to not be fit for the things that I need him to be fit, right? And then who's to blame? Who's actually making the judgment?
Mm-hmm.
I would argue that the person made the judgment by just acting in a sense. Because here's the rationality part. There are people who say, I'm rational, and so I know if I do this, it might bring me to a hypothetical scenario in the future where they look back on this, what I did now, and say, well, because of this, we don't want to work with you, or we don't want you to do something for us, right? So those persons in the present, think of that possible hypothetical scenario, and they don't do it, or they do it a different way, just because they thought, in case this goes bad, maybe it will haunt me, right? Maybe it will come back. Just, you never know, sort of way, right? That's rationality. And then you have people who just look at something in the present, think, oh, I want to do that, right? And that's about it. They don't have the attitude that, maybe it can get back like a boomerang in the future, right? And so I would say both are rational. It's just, why did one person think of the future and why the other didn't? And I would argue because he has no prior experience or prior knowledge about things that can happen from a certain moment. Well, things that can happen in the future because of a certain moment in the past, right? But once he sees it, once he experiences this type of thing, I would guess then the second person would also make that at the next possible situation, he would make the wiser decision and thinking, I remember what happened last time when I just did what I wanted to do, right? So now I should be more careful, for instance.
Okay, so I would say both, the two types, there is different in levels of consciousness in them. Like, for example, the two types you said, the first type is the guy who thinks about the past and then sees the future and relates that with that, right? And then he takes a rational decision according to him in a certain matter. And then there is the other part, the other guy who just act from here and now, right?
But also rational.
Yeah. So I would say there is another place which is, so we can categorize the actions when you plan something according to three main areas, which is the emotional part, the rational, and then the intuition. Okay, so what is the intuition? Yeah. So the emotional we understand, the rational we understand, right?
To be honest, I put them all in physiological.
Okay.
I don't think there are emotions. I just think there are hormones.
Okay. So emotions are feelings we have because of hormones, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But feelings are there because we feel them. That's why it's called feeling, because it's felt.
Well, but I thought.
Pain.
Wait a second. But I thought you are sort of mentioning them as emotions.
Yeah, because it's a feeling. So
So is emotion the same as feeling?
uh,
Probably not.
emotions and so feeling is more general, but emotions is the happiness. That's emotions, right? You're feeling happy, sad, all that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But feeling can also, you feel pain,
Yeah.
right? You can feel a somatic thing also. But emotions are more psychological, but feelings is more general.
All right.
Okay, so the thing about the emotional part and the rational part, and then the intuition. So the intuition is more like an inner deep feeling that this is right and I should do this.
You mean moral?
No, not moral. No, just an inner feeling, and that's a little bit sensitive in different people. So there are some people who just feel that it's a calling, whatever it is. Some people say it's a sign from God. Some people say that, okay, I feel this is right and I should do it, and I don't listen to any rational thing.
It's just an educated guess, right?
No, it's not. It's a, for me, it's an experience. So for me, I have experienced this, and I'm telling it in a sense of experience, and I cannot prove it. You know,
But experience is knowledge.
it's accumulated knowledge.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's accumulated behavior and action, and then you
And-
receive something.
And pattern recognition.
Exactly, and everything just serve. That's an experience. So what I've experienced, when I get this gut feeling, you can say, then every time I take a big gut feeling, and I should do this, even if it's not logical or whatever, it always comes up with a life transforming thing from me. So that's my experience with this. That's why I follow this kind of intuition, and I see a pattern. As you said, I see a pattern. When do I feel this intuition? It's when I'm more calm, when I'm more spiritual. So that's the pattern I made. Okay, I feel it more there, and then okay, then there must be something, and I don't care if it's true or not, because it's working for me. That's the thing where we talked about the approach in the beginning. If it works for you, it's good.
So you could basically lie to yourself. If it's worked, then it's good.
Yes, if
All right.
if you think it, other people can think it's a lie, but I don't believe it's a lie. That's the perspective which we talk about, that it's, if it's rational for me, it might not be rational for you. But for me, I cannot lie to myself in that aspect, because I am believing in it, so I'm not lying. But you can think it's a lie because it's not rational for you. Then you think it's a lie. But it's not like I am saying, oh, it's just like that, and I know, because then it does not. Then it's not a belief. Then it's not a pattern. But a pattern is something logical, rational. Each point is connected with the other one and makes a pattern for me. But if it's a lie, then I don't believe in it. Then it does not have an effect on me. Then it cannot be a lie.
Yeah, but the point of lie is to actually misinterpret some facts or events for your own benefit.
But I don't recognize that it is a lie, because if I recognize it as a lie, then it does not have an effect on my life.
That sounds very risky, right? Because then somebody could come you and say, well, that's the reason why Trump is the president of the United States, right? Because he just believes himself.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the reason that you say people need to believe themselves, even though other people would view them as a lie.
What works for them?
Yeah,
Like,
works
if you
for them.
have, if there is an outcome which is for you and the ones that are, or where you feel that you are more peaceful, or something of the values you believe in, then follow that. You know.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I mean, wouldn't you say that is a certain thing that many people criticize Donald Trump for? That he lies. Other people recognize it as lies, but he seems to believe them.
but also Nikola Tesla, whatever prophets, for example, in their area of time, they said that also, right? It does not mean that Trump is, is nice or whatever he is thinking is cool, I don't necessarily go into politics so much about Trump and other stuff,
but he's a good representation of a psychology example.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not only him. It's not only the negative side. We can also take the prophets. We can take Buddha. We can take we can take different people in the world where it's just about you having.
It's not really tangible when we would speak about Buddha, right? It's not really tangible. I mean, Donald Trump is a real person, living currently, right? If we speak about him, we are speaking about a human being. We can actually sort of investigate, right? If we would like to, we can just literally see when he was where, right, and what he did, all those things. So, but the main question was, if he believes himself,
yes,
and other people recognize it, no, that's objectively just a lie. That's a lie. What should it mean for society? Because Trump could argue, as you said, well, it works for me. It works for me.
The thing is,
but does it work for you? I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, you should be. That's a different approach we're talking when we talk about the people, like a society, or the individual himself. When I talk about the individual himself, I talk with you now, how you should lead your life. When should you believe in something and follow it? It's when you feel that this is right for you and you're feeling peaceful and it's working. There is certain things which is benefiting you. And then we talk about them, and the values you believe in, okay, and the things you hold true to yourself, and how you are, and all the system of yourself, and how you're leading your life, and then you should lead through that. Because if you don't have that measurement, then what should you follow? Should you just follow the environment and the society, what they are telling you?
So what about
then there is no measurement for you to follow.
So what about for instance Stalin,
Hitler, whatever? That's a guy also in the past. The thing is that he inflicted negative thing. Now we are talking about something about social, right? I cannot talk with Stalin, for example.
Yeah, but I mean, if you
cannot know how good he was in his real life, right? You cannot know how peaceful he was.
Well,
that's the thing.
I would tell him the same. If he killed his closest friends,
yes,
I mean
then he cannot be peace. That's what I'm telling you.
No, but maybe
is it working for you or not? Are you feeling peaceful? That's the thing. You can never say that Hitler was peaceful, Stalin was peaceful, Donald Trump is peaceful.
Why not?
You can never say yes or no because you don't know.
Well, so only themselves can know and to say.
Yes.
Also, if yeah, but
you can see a pattern of behavior and you can say I think that's wrong for me. But even the politicians, the big politicians and all that in the countries, you don't really know the political system they are in, and maybe they are influenced by that political system and they cannot change anything. Then they try to do whatever they can, but it does not serve the people. Then people blame them, but actually it's the other politicians to blame, not the president. For example, I'm just giving a rough example. I don't believe in that. In case of Trump, but I'm just giving a rough example that maybe it's not only the person but the ones he's surrounded with, the system he's in, and all that. So we cannot really say that someone is wrong or right.
Alright, but it sounds like a perpetual relativity.
Okay.
There's no real definitive answer.
Yeah, there never is, because we're talking about psyches of people.
Yeah, but look, here's the thing. The whole point of
we're trying to control the aspects of people and make a label of them. That's not the answer.
No, what I mean is you have to have a certainty, right? You don't have to have it 100%.
You don't have to have certainty.
What?
You don't have to have certainty.
Well, I think if
certainty
you want to
is
move,
because you want to control a specific thing.
Yeah, the environment.
Yes, exactly, and that's the control. That's not spirituality. That's against the realms of spirituality.
But
I'm talking about my approach in these things, where you don't have to control stuff. You just have to control your own self, and then lead by that, and know yourself, because you can never know other people.
That's really selfish.
No, it's not. It's the total difference, because you don't want to control anyone. But the other approach is selfish because you want to control other people.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, at one point in time, you have some people who know better. For sure, they know better than other people. So because they are better in a certain context, they can help other people when those people cannot help themselves, right? And so they do that.
Yes.
They actually do that. So even though you can say, well, somebody was selfish, actually he was altruistic in a sense, right? But if somebody is concentrating only on themselves, on only his psychological well-being, physical well-being, I think that's the definition of selfishness.
Okay.
Because it's not like somebody else is benefiting from you being content with yourself.
Okay, so
Right?
we have two approaches: to see yourself, okay, and be the best version of self, and then it will inflict other people. Because when you have peace inside you, then you will give that peace outside, basically.
That's again, that's just romanticism, right?
No, it's not. It's an experience thing, I would say. So I would say, let me just finish this one. So it's when you concentrate about your own self, because that's the most thing you are responsible about. You're not responsible about changing people. No, you're responsible about yourself. But
Alright.
when you change yourself and become a better version of yourself, then you can try to spread that message to people and how you did it and how they can also do it. So it's that kind of altruism, when you have it, then you can give it. But if you are always trying to control the outside, the society outside, and just trying to do that to just change that and not really working with you, then that's the wrong thing. But I'm not talking about that. If you do a social or organizational work and stuff, that's amazing, because you are contributing to society while you are changing yourself. But the thing is not to put labels. That the main thing is just not to put labels on people and just live the experience with them in the moment and act according to what they do and how they act with you, And
Sounds
with that, you act with the most values you have, which are peace. For example, for me, peace, it can be mercy, whatever it is, whatever core values you have, you act with those. But that's my approach in talking with people. I try at least to have it like that and not to judge and all that. What is your approach? What are you proposing? Like I proposed a way of living in the moment, not judging people, putting stamps on them, so I can act according to whatever arises and be a better version of myself all the time, and trying to spread what I gained in knowledge and in wisdom and in spirituality. Those are the aspects of my approach with people. What is your approach? What are you saying different? I can understand for you.
Because the description sounds quite hippie.
Okay.
Right, and I'm not saying that it is wrong in a sense, but what I am saying is,
What is your approach?
That is my approach. Physical beings have limitations. We are limited in time and space.
Okay.
If that's true, and I don't have a doubt that it is true, it means we have limitations and possibility of measurement in everything we do, in absolutely everything we do, right? It's a matter of whether or not we have the certain measurement tools, because it used to be the case that people didn't know how to describe temperature. They recognized it's warmer or colder, but they didn't have a Celsius degree to describe it with. But at one point in time, due from just trial and error, right, they figured out, all right, let's put this quicksilver, right, and let's measure the temperature, and let's invent some type of measurement tool to actually do it consistently. Meaning, if you say it's 15 degrees, everybody knows what's up. There's no question about it. What do you mean with 15 degrees? No. You know what I mean with 15 degrees. You invent something to measure something, and then it becomes the norm, and it becomes applicable to all the future scenarios, right? I think that's where the psychological or sort of a human mental and brain studies need to be, or need to advance towards that type of scenario where they have actually undisputable measurement options, and then say, look, yes, people in this group, they seem perfectly fine, right? But objectively speaking, as much as we can, meaning we have defined what constitutes, let's say, a constructive member of society, for instance, right? And according to the potentiality of the intellect, of the emotional capacity, of the whatever you want to put just as a criteria, right? According to these to measurements, this one gets the gold medal, right? This one is the Usain Bolt of happy, content people, and everything else is just participation trophies for them, right? And I'm not saying
Well,
that
not
it's
machines. You
no,
can-
no, no. But what I am saying is, again, if we have just basic physiological needs, there has to be a certain pattern to actually be able to measure almost all humanly possible feats. It's not like
but we
it's
have another
challenging.
content with that.
Hmm?
We have a spirit also. What is spirit? We can talk about that.
I think look, I think when it comes to spiritual things, it's just a manifestation of the ever increasing need to make sense of the world, and it used to be the case that when people got ill, they said that it was some bad spirits or whatever the case may be, right? And then people just found out, oh no, it's actually germs, right? So it becomes, again, people want to have answers, even though the answers might be totally wrong, but they just want to feel that they have some answers. And we are in a sort of a juxtaposition nowadays, because we have still the generation amongst us who are quite ignorant of how to approach constructively many things. I'm not saying that they are dumb, but I'm saying many challenges are too much for those people, just because they don't have the mental fortitude, the habits, the approaches that could actually help them, right? And we have a new generation who doesn't have any of that, who is used to double checking everything that they hear, just because they have the option to just Google everything on the spot, right? And so what I'm saying is, if you have such a situation where you can actually Google almost everything at any time, at one point in time there should be a method to actually evaluating human beings on a physiological fundamental basis, right? And then you can actually describe what is a better human than another.
Okay, so the main difference between our ideas is that we base it on different things. I base it on that there is a spirit and there is a psychological and physiological needs.
Yeah.
Okay. You base it only on physiological. So if you base it only physiological, then you put the human being as a mere like a PC. Like he has been programmed with different stuff, and it's only 1 to 3, and we can measure.
I describe human as a reactionary organism.
Yes, exactly. Yes. That's a PC. You just tap on a button, and then he acts in a certain way. So that kind of thing is very anticipatory. But what we see with human beings is not like that. We are not anticipatory. We are different. Everyone is different, because what I believe in, that we have a spirit which is different in levels of consciousness, which we have the free will to choose what to do in different situations. So in that aspect, most of the people react as you say, because most people are very low spiritual. Okay, so then you can see that kind of pattern. You can see a similar pattern in people, and then you say, okay, because he have lived in that kind of environment and they've lived in that schools, and most probably he will become a criminal. Like 20% to 50% will become criminals because of 1 to 3. But you also have a percentage wise. You cannot say just 50% will be like that, right? So it's always anticipatory because of different levels, psychological level too. So there is physiological, psychological. You cannot know how his mother would, and if you put all those information, you can get a rough estimate. You can get a very near estimate of what will happen, yes, but you will never get a 100% or even 90%, I believe, because the spirit also comes in. The spiritual which is different. You believe that it's a way of people to make sense of the world and stuff. I don't believe like that. I believe, yes, we use spirit to make sense of the world. I believe it's a different approach. That we have a spirit. If you take a dead body, you will not realize any difference in weight because of what. So the thing about life and death, what was there in that body? For us to be able to speak, be able to do everything, all that, nothing. And if you come and make an anatomical cut in the brain, you cannot find the center, which is there controlling everything. So there must be something which is not in this body, which controls everything, because when you die, you don't decrease in any gram. 1 gram is not different. What is the difference between life and death? But that's a very big talk about spirituality and what is the difference between the physiological aspects.
But then again, I'm telling you the same, right? It's the contemporary sort of approach of explaining something we don't understand. What is life force? How does life actually emanate throughout the space?
Yes.
So, but yeah, at one point in time, maybe they will just find out, it's actually just radiation waves. This type of frequency creates this type of pattern. Physical organisms react to these type of frequencies that way. Oh, that's life force, right? Because it's not like you could see radio waves, right? But you can actually make a type of product who actually uses that unseen energy and creates it, manifests it in a certain type of a way that you can actually experience, right? So again, this is not an age-old. I think even the mystics talk about what is the frequency of space, and what is the source of life in a physical manifestation level. But then again, it's just the sun. It's probably just the sun. It's probably.
But you are also assuming some things. What you are doing, you are assuming some things which is not proved yet by science.
Same as spirituality.
No, spirituality is different. It's by experience. That's the difference.
Well, but here's the thing. There are too many examples of people explaining things by experience that have actually afterwards just been shown to be something that can be measured, that can be actually just put
like
in a certain classification.
Like who? Who of the prophets, for example, can you put into that category?
What? Prophets?
Yeah. Because you're saying...
No, look, if you speak about religion, the religion is just beliefs. It's not like there has to be a manifestation for somebody to believe in something, right? It's not about beliefs. It's not about beliefs. What I am saying is, if people used to think that spirits made them ill, and afterwards Pasteur just recognized the germs, there is a big gap in between what I'm saying.
But that's just like spirits did that. That's not an experience. That's like you're just assuming something which happened because of something else, because they saw a specific harm to them or something like that.
Yeah, but that's literally you just described what spirituality is in a most basic level. It's what's the word in English? Let me just translate it real quick. It is superstition.
Superstition. So, for example, in Egypt, for example, they will think like, until now actually sometimes, if something happens to your psyche or something, it's jinn or that type of a creature which did something to your mentality, right? So that's an experience where they experience some illness or whatever they experienced, and then they interpret it in that sense, right? So about what is the difference between that and the spiritual aspect is that I would say for me it's a continuation of thing which happens all the time when I am more peaceful than something specific. I get a specific feeling, I get a specific thing to do something, and then I do it, and then something else happens. Or I get what do you call it, like insight in different things when I'm moving through my spiritual levels. So it's a little bit different than physical thing coming and I'm trying to explain it in different senses.
Well, it seems like you just talk about calming yourself.
It's not about calming, it's about really experiencing myself, knowing who I am, what motives are driving me, all that, like just an inner deep experience. It's not only about calming myself, because to be calm, you can be calm in a cave, but to be calm with people is different. Like you need to change
But it's
your
still
aspects.
you. It's still you being calm.
Yes. But when? But with what kind of threshold? That's, you remember when we talked
Yeah, but
about
you can put
a
thresholds.
threshold?
Yeah, but you can put thresholds arbitrarily.
Oh.
Arbitrarily, you don't have an objective threshold. You just will put your thresholds as you see them fit.
What do you mean about what I see fit?
Well, you decide what's your threshold.
Yes, everyone decides which threshold he's on, and then after a year, for example, you see a different kind of threshold.
Can I suggest you something?
Of course.
Have you looked into Scientology?
No. Maybe some aspects of it, but not a specific book or something.
Because technically, I think you would pretty much see the things you described in there.
You
And it's a 20th century religion, so have-
yeah. You mean Richard Dawkins aspect of thing?
L. Ron Hubbard.
Okay.
Richard Dawkins was, I
I
think, either a biologist, or I think Richard Dawkins was just some author and academic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have read. But
Scientology is a religion. Started in the 20th century, was 50s or 60s, by a science fiction author called L. Ron Hubbard. I think he holds the record for most books ever written, and most of them were just pure science fiction, and so he started a religion, and people believe.
Interesting. So everyone can.
But
start.
his main, but his main point is, people are hurt, and we need to help them heal.
Okay. He means by what?
He calls it auditing and sessions, but it's basically therapy. And they are quite a rich organization. Most famous member is Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise's mind is a little bit too stiff, I would say.
In what sense?
He.
Because he challenges himself, dude.
Yeah, I've not really read a lot, but
he goes out of his comfort zone.
Yeah, but he puts a little bit, like, for example, he have a lot like he puts things in boxes, and then he's like, I don't know, I've seen his intense reaction according to something happens. Okay, they are like, put them in the box.
But that's the real methodology of life, right? To have
different approach,
to have a narrative that actually fits in a functional way. Because you can have a narrative saying,
for yourself, but not for others.
The gods are against me, right? It doesn't make any sense for you to be talking to you that way, because the gods. So can you change the gods' will? No. But if you say, well, this happened, am I really concerned about a motivation? Only if it might happen again, right? You approach things more sensible, in a sense, because it's not whether or not it's true, right? It's whether or not it helps you in a sense that you can actually achieve something more with the narrative that you put to the life experiences.
Yeah. So, for example, when for example you meditate, okay, then you experience a state of bliss. Some people receive solutions about some things, whatever it is. They say Some say it's God speaking with me. Some say it's the subconscious giving me answers. Some people say it's just the brain calming down and having some connections and telling you what to do, right? Some people say, oh, it's the connection with other minds, and then you realize what it is. It does not differ a lot. It's about what you make from the experience. What you make from that kind of spiritual experience, whatever you want to call it, and how it works for you. So if you go to in the Islamic religions, they believe it somehow in a different way than Christians and than atheists, than whatever, you know. So about how you understand it is something, and how you make with it is different.
So would you say we are a product of the lies we believe?
It's not lies. If you believe them, it's not lies. That's what I'm trying to say. If
Ooh,
it's rational for you,
that's a sneaky politician answer.
no, it's not. If it's rational for you, it does not have to be rational for others, as we say. You know, it's about having all. So, for example, you and me were very different in that sense. You believe in this very much. I believe in this very much because I had my experiences. I interpreted it this way because it was certain experiences which was very strong for me and very intensively. I understood it this way.
You know that you could have chosen another explanation, right?
What? Like what?
No, you could just because you chose to explain it that way as you did.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like somebody just programmed it into you to explain it that way. You chose to explain it that way.
That's your interpretation.
But what is your interpretation?
My interpretation is that I explained it because
There
as I
was no other
experienced
way?
it, because I did not explain it in one form. I did not say that there is a guy with a beard telling me this, or there is a woman doing this, telling me in that sense, or there is some specific aspect. I did not translate it different, like specifically. I kept it wide. I did not have to have a certain what do you call it, like shape for it to understand it. I just experienced it. I did not need to have a pattern for it.
Yeah, but you
I did
seem
not
to
need
have,
to have Shiva, for example.
Yeah,
to,
but you seem to have an explanation in a sense what you experienced.
What the thing I experienced. Because I did not
you could,
say that.
Look, you could have an experience going out to the street,
Yeah.
a UFO coming by. You see a UFO. You see aliens, right? You don't know that that's a UFO. You don't know that there are aliens.
Mm-hmm.
You just experience, whoa, I've never seen this before. That's the experience. Whoa, I've never seen this before.
Yes.
The explanation you give is, oh, it's probably some Halloween costumes, right? So now you go into the world and say, yeah, I've saw some weird Halloween costumes, right? Even though they were real aliens. You just didn't know. You just didn't recognize them.
Yes.
But now you go into the world and say, yeah, I have the experience. I have the experience. It's probably just Halloween costumes.
Experience itself is something, and how I interpret it is differently. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I did not say, for example, it's some kind of guy who telling me something, but I say that it's some information I received from, I believe that it's God. You know, some others call it Krishna, Buddha, whatever. You know, and I received something, and this I try to understand this and how I can use it. But it's not about I received a direct message like a prophet or anything, not at all. But it's just that intuition to do something specific. I don't exactly, know the source of that, or I believe it's God, but that's just a belief. And I believe that, as I told you, that it does not have to be 100% true for others, but as you believe in it and it works for you, that's good. It does not have to be 100%. And the thing is, what happened with me was that I used to not believe. I used to not believe in. So I was raised Muslim, but then afterwards I became some kind of atheist agnostic. I did not really believe a lot in religions and all that because I had so many questions about life and how life works and why and all that. And it's like everything was contradicting itself for me at that time and nobody would answer. And then I had the experience where there is something. And that experience was when you don't have those answers and you don't have that peace. And then you receive that in a different form. Then you compare between the two. I compare between the two experiences. And then I get information. And then wherever, like at that time, when I would, when I would ask a question, I would get the answer. So it's not coincidence, it's because it would happen too many times. That's why I tell you it's an inner deep experience for everyone to understand and really fathom. But you cannot convince any other people of receiving those things. It has to be your own experience. So for me, it was receiving answers whenever I asked in a certain aspect, when I was ready for it, when I was calm, when I was feeling, I don't know, God just teach me. When I had that attitude, then I would get the answers. I could just read something, very coincidentally, just feel my intuition guiding me to a certain thing, and then it will happen, and then I would understand something. So for me, it couldn't be a coincidence because it was too many times for me. So for me, it was an experience.
Superstition.
You
I'm telling
interpreted
you,
it
man.
as superstition.
But you literally just described the superstition.
Okay.
Something happening, and you're just explaining it that it's no possible way. This is how it works.
Okay.
This is how it works.
That's how you interpret it. I understand it fully because you have not experienced it. So you have this.
I think I have
This
experienced
is also
it.
an explanation for you. You
I
have that kind of what they call it, like predisposed thing, where you see people having that kind many times, and you are also explaining the same.
So superstition, paranormal. Is any
I
belief,
know what you. Okay, just
is any belief or practice that is considered irrational or supernatural?
see, irrational for you. Irrational for who? That's it.
Yeah, but see, that's what you are saying. There is no definition of irrational. Everybody defines irrational his own way. So it's all relative. So
Exactly. That's why it should be your own experience. I cannot convince you about it.
Yeah, but see,
I cannot convince anybody about it.
but the problem is, again, if we talk about a universe that is sort of observable, there is no occurrence that is relative.
There is.
Not really.
Yes, for your eyes, yes. You cannot see the microbes moving now, right? It's relative for you. But the microbes are all over us now, right? If you have a microscope, you will see because you have different tools of seeing.
Oh, no. What I mean is this. If I look at the microscope and you look at the microscope, we see the same thing.
You don't have to also. You
Dude, now
no, I'm not
now
joking.
You're going
no,
out.
no, I'm not joking even. No. That was a good one. Because you can be focused on the shapes, for example. I could be focused on the colors. It depends on the time we look
your
also.
Interest,
There's a lot of different...
your interest is one thing. Your interest is one thing, yes. But we would see the same thing.
But our interpretation will be different.
About what? About the things we see?
Yes, it depends on the time. For example, if I let you look for half a second, what you will get is different than what I will get. I might get the shape, you might get the colors. We might get the both, we might get half, okay?
Oh.
Yeah, because it depends on the stimulation under the microscope.
All right. But if we look at the same amount of time?
Then it depends also.
For the same things?
It depends. Really depends.
Dude.
Yes. Because
you're going too far with this. I'm telling you.
Yes, because
you need to stop that relativity.
No, wait.
At some point. Some point.
I'm gonna tell you. Everyone has a specific time for him to realize different things.
Dude,
so, for example,
maybe
it can take me 2 seconds.
Wait. I'm waiting for you to say everybody has different eyes. No, I'm waiting for you to say that.
Okay. So maybe it will take me 2 seconds to get all the details of under the microscope. Maybe it will take you 1 second. So if I see it 1 second and you see it 1 second, then I will get different. But if we have the same angle of viewpoint and same amount of time for each of us,
yes. Here's one microscope. I look at it, now you look at it, I look at it, now you look at it.
Yes.
But it's the same.
So many times, yes, you will almost get the same thing.
Yeah.
But maybe you will say it's pear-shaped. Maybe I will say egg-shaped. Or like something like a pear, but also similar, right? So we will get almost the same, but 100% I doubt that. Maybe 99.9.
Yeah, but what I mean
Yeah.
is, even though we just.
But if I tell you to draw it and I draw it, we draw differently, right?
No, if we take a picture, it's the same picture. If you take the picture and I take the picture.
You realize on your memory and all that, right? Because
No, I don't. But here's the thing. I don't talk now
if
about
we take something now,
our memory.
okay, if we take something now from our memory and we both draw it, we'll
No,
definitely draw it differently.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
No.
Human beings are too stupid to be objectifying the world.
You're looking down
we
on
are-
your race.
But we are smart enough to have devices that can capture the world as it actually is.
Okay, so it's relative. What I'm saying that the bacteria and stuff, I don't see them, and you don't see them.
What you are saying is
We don't experience everything in this world.
what you are describing
We
is
need tools, right? As you said.
you are describing that consciousness and conscience is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying the objective reality is the same. It's just that the explanation is different. And what I'm suggesting is it not to close the door on the possibility that our explanation is not really something that is tried and true,
Always.
but actually any practice that is considered supernatural, for example.
Yeah, you should also be open for that, right?
Well, I guess then I'm not really fit
I was
for
open
the
for what
second
you said,
sentence,
because
causality.
I was also open for that, right? Because I did not believe before, right? So when I say I believe now, I believe 99.999, but I don't believe 100%. But I believe that there is something above this, and that I believe that. But I believed after I did not believe. So I always have that kind of I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. That's the foundation. To be humble, that you don't know everything. So you are saying that, yeah. So you should also, like, when I say, for example, this.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I give the benefit of the doubt wherever it's possible.
Yes.
Right?
That's what I'm trying to say. That's it, It's the same concept, that you are open for ideas. It's not like blind belief. Blind belief that it's like everything is set and everybody who talks about it is wrong and you're doomed to hell and all that, and comes with a system of domination, like religious.
Oh no, but but the only
consequences.
but the only reason why I was interested in what you said is because there are enough examples in the world who actually retard any growth, just because people are content with what they have, right? And
that's the comfort zone we talked about.
Yeah, and but what I'm saying is that most of the time there is no real need to settle. I mean, yes, we now operate on these assumptions, right? But it doesn't mean we should stop.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we should just live and then our grandchildren should live with the same.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah, and
that's why we talked about traveling, right? So you travel to experience different things, and when you have reached a point where you are a little bit plateau, you always have to challenge yourself sometimes in your comfort zone, but not so much as the first one. I would say the first one is a big one.
Here's the thing: if you ask me about traveling, it's the same situations, just in a different place.
Same,
because you wake up, you probably we now ate macaroni, right? I'm willing.
Was it good, by the way?
I'm willing. Good, yeah.
Okay.
I'm willing to bet that you ate macaroni in another country as well.
Many times.
See?
But different ingredients all the time.
Yeah, but see, macaroni.
Yes.
You still used macaroni.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And then?
Well, what I'm saying is, you can cook macaroni in one country, or you can cook macaroni in 10 countries.
Yes.
You are still eating macaronis, right? And the physical presence or the physical location is just secondary. Your experience was eating macaroni.
Yes, but I also ate a lot of other things. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
all right, macaroni and cheese. Well,
no. Yeah, that's all the time actually. If somebody knows me, they know cheese and pasta and mushrooms. But the thing is, I don't only eat pasta whenever I go, right? Maybe I come to Lithuania, I go and eat potato pancakes, beetroot soup, something like that, right? So I also go out of my comfort zone. So the thing is, you have your own comfort zone, but then challenge yourself outside of that comfort zone sometimes. It's not about, you have to stay all the time away from comfort zone. No, because you like it, why shouldn't you keep with it? But it's just about being able to see other things, to be able to challenge yourself, to be able to experience something new. So wherever you go, wherever I travel, you see different things, you meet different people with different aspects of mentality, that kind. You do different things.
But would it be possible for you to actually make traveling your main goal and the foundational tool to get to the main goal, to, let's say, build a business, for instance? I mean,
So,
you're not interested in the business.
Yes.
You would be interested in traveling, but you know that traveling takes time and resources.
Yes.
So you first gather up the resources so you can buy time to travel, right?
So when
Would that be rational or irrational?
it depends on the one himself. So for example, I would say if someone comes to me and asks me for advice on that matter, like he says, okay, I have, for example, I have 5,000 euros. Should I start a business and then travel, or travel first and then start a business? Then I will ask him, what do you want? Then he will give me an answer. Then I will say, for example, do you have experience with the business? Do you have experience with the traveling? What is it you want from life, values and all that? And then I'll be like, what do you think? Do you think the travel may be aiding your business afterwards? Or your business will aid your traveling? Or if when you get into the business, maybe what will happen that he'll get too business oriented and then he will lose the traveling and just travel after 10 years, because many people are like, okay, I will just make some money, and then they end up like until 60 years old they get married, for example in Egypt. If they have that in mind, definitely most of the people in Egypt like, okay, I want to travel, but then they get married. When they get married, it becomes much more difficult for them to travel, right? So it really depends on many situations. So it's rational and irrational. It depends on the person himself. There are many different aspects we talk about. And
so one day the person can say that is rational for me, the next day he can say about the same scenario that is irrational for me.
it depends on the information, as we said, and the tools you have.
No, I mean you can actually, you would believe the same person with the same information if he said one day that's rational and the next day that's irrational about the same thing.
It might be on the border of rationality. So maybe both are rational in a different sense. We never know the future. So you can have 5 things with traveling first. You can have 5 things with staying and make a business. So you have to choose. Now it's like on the border.
But look, he, for instance, in that scenario, he came to you because he has an impulse. The impulse is the want to travel, the need to provide the means to travel. He's not competent enough to get the means yet. So why would he be able to actually define his answers to your question?
What do you mean?
Well, because you asked him, well, what do you want? Well, so, but yeah, I'm too stupid. That's why I come to you for help. I need some answers. I need some guidance. I need some mentorship.
Yeah, that's why you ask the question, because then you see how much determined and how strong he has that idea and how much willing he is able to do it and all that. You see his character, basically. That's one of the things.
It's really difficult to imagine. I mean, how many people are there who achieved their material wealth to pursue then their main goal after they literally just talked about it? Because it seems to me if you are fairly ambitious, you would just go and get it. Or
What
try
do
to
you
go and get it. The material possessions, so you can achieve your main goal.
The thing is, it depends on the priorities of everyone. I would say the most important thing is knowing your values. Because then you don't need so many materialistic wealth to even travel.
I think
Because people associate materialistic things with the things they are highly achievable. But
possessions.
possession.
Yes.
But they don't know maybe they can travel with the least amount of money, and then come and do the business.
Yeah,
thing.
but with less comfort. I mean,
but then they challenge themselves.
People usually when
That's
they
why
speak,
we talk with them. Then you know what priorities you have and what he needs, and then it's like an ongoing thing.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is, if they would have already enough means, they wouldn't come to you in a sense, right? Because they would already have the possibilities, the options. So wouldn't you say that the goal of all psychotherapy is just to increase a person's options in life?
Is guiding. So basically, as a psychotherapist or as a life coach, for example, you cannot tell the other one what to do. As a mentor, you can. So as a life coach, you can't, but as a mentor, you can.
Who defines the rules for life coaches? You can do that as a life coach as well.
No, life coach is like
who defines it? It's not like there's a life coach association.
Yes, there is.
Who makes the guidelines?
There is. So there is life coach. Yeah, there is.
But yeah, and so how authoritative are they? If you ignore their guidelines, are you not a life coach anymore?
Then you are more like a mentor. Yes, but I'm just telling you about the how they define each other. Like when you are a life coach, you should simply make the other one. That's a concept. It's just about a concept in how life coaches treat their clients. That the answer should come from you. I should not give it to you. Okay?
So what's the point of the life coach?
About guiding and showing him the options.
So basically being just the internet.
That's a good one. Yeah, internet connecting. Yeah, it's something like that. Something like that. And also about make him know the tools. Also showing him, this button do that, this button do that kind of thing. Like emotion regulation and stuff.
Am I reading you correct that you wouldn't be, for instance, interested in exploiting Indians for outsourcing some business?
What? No, I did not understand that one.
Would you be interested in exploiting third world countries?
Exploiting, you mean?
Exploiting in the sense that you use their labor, their resources to advance your interests in business, travel?
That's a very broad question, but okay, can you formulate it differently?
Are you willing to use cheap labor for your own self good?
Okay, so
because if you say you believe in spirituality, I think you probably believe in karma as well.
Yes, so the thing is, what is the values in this?
For you?
Yeah, it's so everyone.
You tell me.
Yeah, everyone has what? Certain amount of values, right? If you know your values.
No, nobody has values. Everybody has just physiological needs.
That's the thing is, I don't believe so. You believe so, right? I believe we have values. So when I react or take a decision,
all right. But does a wolf in the woods have values?
Value. What?
Does a wolf in the woods have values?
What is a wolf?
A wolf.
What is a wolf? I know what a wolf is. I'm asking what is intended. What is it? It's an animal, right?
Yeah, but we are an animal.
Okay, that's the difference between ourselves. I don't believe that we are typically animals. I believe we are a highly selective animal. We can choose what animal to be, basically. A very simple sentence, but very deep, I'll say. We can choose.
You're too hippie for me.
I know.
I'm telling you, because it's like you avoid all the possible concreteness.
Okay.
Right.
You want things.
Everything's fluid for you. Yes, everything's fluid for you.
You want the things to be squared. I can't be squared.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm not sure where the borders are. I'm sure that there are borders.
Yeah, but the borders are flexible from each one.
No, that's too hippie, man.
For you, man.
No, because look, I mean, if we would be just totally unbound physically and in time, yes, I might agree. But
the boundary of physical is
I mean,
reached more every time. Usain Bolt now, how much, what record have he now? Other people did not do the same record as him, right? So we are also challenging the physical boundaries of ourselves, even, right?
Yeah, but there won't be a person who runs faster than 5 seconds. It's just.
But there is always an increase in the boundary. You never know. But there's always increase in the boundary.
No, look.
If he uses different tools, that happens also.
Yeah, well, concerning the anatomy of a human being, it has limitations.
Yes.
And objectively.
Yes. But you never know if they create some drug or something and then it becomes wow in 1 second. You never know.
Yeah, but then that's the modification of an anatomy.
Yes.
But that's not.
We use the environment. We use what is here in the environment, right?
Well, technically, but we use it to facilitate our own interests.
Mm-hmm. What is different?
Yeah, but to just win the old gold medal is not a real interest.
Okay.
To have maybe fame would be an interest. To have maybe money would be the interest. To just be the fastest, not. I mean, if nobody cared who won the 100-meter sprint, right?
Wait, what is the relation between this and what is speaking about?
Well, because you talked about sprinters.
Yes. Yeah. But we are talking about an example for that everything has a limitation or not.
Yes, and you said no, because they still get
you maybe said,
even faster and faster. When I'm saying yes, I agree.
Because you want that
they get faster,
thing.
But I'm saying I don't know the borders. I just know there are borders.
Yeah, but exactly we don't.
But you say there are no borders.
Yeah, I did not say that. I said we can increase in the realm of borders. Like that's what I mean. We can increase in the realm of the borders, but what borders it is, you never know.
Oh, so you think there are borders?
It's like the expansion of the universe. The universe expands until it comes a time, boom, what happens? But at that time, there is no more expansion. There is a border, right? And then everything.
Oh, so you don't have anything against borders?
No, it must be border. If there is a beginning, there must be an end. But if is it the beginning of another end? You never know.
Okay. So do you have any? Because we didn't discuss the clickbait topics at all.
We just.
Do you have an opinion about America? Because it sounds to me that you are describing basically that the American president is pretty top notch when it comes to all these things you described.
What do you mean?
Well, you can, if it works for you.
Yeah.
You should lie to yourself.
It's not about what is lying.
Again,
okay.
Man.
Okay.
There's no concreteness.
Yeah. But give an example if you lie to yourself, because from another perspective.
I'm 2 meters tall.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe in it?
Yes.
You're lying now.
See?
Yes, you're lying because you don't believe it.
And how could I actually let you believe that I believe?
What?
How would I convince you that I believe?
Because now we are just making it up, so I know.
yeah, but out of this context.
Yes, I can try when I'm talking to you, I can provide you the evidence, and if you are still like stiff in it, then I can just then it's just inside your mind. Your circuits are like wired like this, and you really maybe believe in it, or you lie to me, but you don't lie to yourself because you cannot lie to yourself.
So you wouldn't say that Donald Trump has some mental problems.
That's politics, but I don't.
No, it's not politics. Just because a person is playing politics doesn't mean he's not a person.
Okay, so he has some things which in his psyche, which I'm a little bit surprised that he can be a president with. That I can say.
Well, but you are not surprised that he could be something else?
As
you identify
the mental capabilities.
You identify the seat of president with some more than he provides?
What do you mean? No, what? No, I am saying that
do you because you said you seem that he's not Well, it seems to you that he might not be so fit for the chair of president,
Yes,
right?
because if it's mental,
but
because the generalization he makes,
but
the
are
way
you,
he talks.
no, but are you saying that there is a certain criteria for being the president? Because there is no.
There should be.
Why do you think so? Because
Be-
there is no.
But there should be. There should be
Why?
an evaluation, psychological evaluation from professional psychologists and psychiatrists. That's what I see. That's important.
Only for the president?
Specifically, especially for the president.
All right.
I would say, but that's why when you are talking about, you remember when you talked about that you evaluate the thing, oh, he has gone to prison, then the employer says, oh, because of the country, da da da.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say that there can be a psychology, if for example you're comparing between, there can be a psychological evaluation if this guy is fit enough to that job or not. That's important.
But then I would use your same arguments
What?
against you and say,
Okay.
well, what is actually crazy? Well, how do we define crazy?
You see the patterns, as you said. You know, I'm not against that. You see the patterns and how.
And then I
how
would
it's
say,
fit.
but if it works for him,
What?
then he's not crazy.
Yeah, then it. What do we? Yeah, if it works for him in a sense that he is functional and he is good, yes. But for example, he can be having a problem with an anxiety or whatever, then it does not fit that job. Then that problem, it does not work with him also, and it does not work with the job. The anxiety, for example, some job requires certain thing, but there are some jobs where you can be anxious, for example, but you just decrease the anxiousness with work and stuff. Then he is not having so good, what they call it, he's not so well with himself, but he's good in the job because he releases anxiety that way. So it's not like if you are fit in a job, it does not mean that you are well, and because you're well, it does not mean that you are fit in a job. It does not have to be either way, this or that.
Oh, then I don't get it. Because I was hoping that you said if you are well, you could be fit for basically any job.
No, not any job.
No, don't get me wrong. If you don't have the medical license, yeah, you won't be a medical doctor.
Yes, and
But
knowledge.
if you are well physically, you are fit, right? You could become a doctor. That's
But
what
for
I'm saying.
example,
But there are people who are too dumb to become doctors. It's just physically impossible for them to learn.
yes, it depends on the IQ, it depends
Yeah.
on the mental capabilities, or
That's
it
what I
depends on the problem solving, the mathematical orientation. You cannot be a
cognitive
physicist, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, the capabilities also. So it's not only about the psychology and how you are feeling. So you will be fit in a job,
Yeah.
and it does not have to be also the other way.
But you're not talking mainly about the cognitive things when you speak about psychology, right?
Like what, for example, like the cognitive and the emotional.
Yeah, but you were speaking about psychology, but you didn't include the cognitive abilities when you were speaking about psychology, right?
Give me an example because I don't really remember. I don't want to give an answer, and then the psychology, the psych. It was more.
Remember
about
when we spoke
the mental
about
state.
there should be some metrics to determine who is the best human being,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. When
And
you
then you said, no, it's you sort of started getting blurry with all this.
okay.
relative-
For you, it's blurry because you cannot measure it because you can't measure the spiritual aspect. Okay.
Now we don't have the measurements, right?
Yes.
At one point, we didn't have the measurement for temperature.
I know that
See?
argument. Okay.
See, so yeah.
Okay.
What I'm expecting
Mhm.
is, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 years from now,
Mm.
we will have measurements to say, yeah, this human being is good, this human being is trash.
Maybe it will come, but it
Yeah.
will never be 100% because there's
No,
still
no,
the spirit, and I'm sure about it.
I'm speaking about but I'm speaking about a reasonable confirmation.
I would say I believe that it would be something like that if it takes into consideration tests, cognitive functions, emotional well-being, and all that. It will
Yeah.
be accurate in a very high level. I would say
Mm-hmm.
that I believe in.
All right. Any thoughts about India?
But India.
Have you
Like-
been to India?
No, not yet. Actually, yeah.
Plan to go?
Yeah, yeah, I want to go actually. Yeah, but why India?
Because I have USA and India as clickbait topics.
Oh. No, I don't really know a lot about India itself. I have some friends from
But
India.
it seems to
that's
me
cool.
that you would be almost perfectly fit for India, right?
Because
the
of
way
the
you talk
yogi, you
about
know.
spirituality.
I should just have been sitting here like this.
Yes. Because I don't look. But here's another thing. I think also India has a lot of things from the past
Mm.
that are actually holding them down
Mm-hmm.
because of
Okay.
the traditions, because of the ancient beliefs, right? And it's about your social circle, right? If your grandparents or parents
Mm.
act and think and behave in a certain way, it's really difficult for you to actually emerge in the 21st century and be, well, not really competitive, but comparable. Comparable. You will just continue the same recipes that your grandmother used.
Yeah, I would say that in every culture which is strong for their people. So whatever culture there is some set things. Maybe Europe is now above that somehow. It's the intensity of the culture decreased so much in the Europeans basically, but still in the Arabic world, in the Africa, Asia, maybe India more. Um, uh, so it's the baggage, it's a pattern where we were talking about that they have from their parents, their environment, and all that, which is set. And for them to emerge, they need to experience something different. They need to see the world. They need to change their environment and really see. And Indians who travel, like I have several friends from India, they are not like that because travelers are different. So whenever you travel, you can travel with putting yourself in a different place with books, with seeing different people, chatting with different people, internet, whatever. That's kind of traveling actually. You don't have to travel only by yourself, you know, in another place. Of course, that's one of the most strongest, but you can also do it in different means, basically. So just being open to different things, and every culture has this kind of you attach yourself. But when you become open for the question, and then you are willing to accept whatever answers there is, then you open up for different opportunities and you rise from your old grandmother's recipes basically, and you can choose afterwards to follow her recipe or to change it totally, or take something from that, and from that whatever works for you and works for the ones around you.
So, would you say that you just explain common sense to people?
Common sense. If what I say is common sense, then it's good. If some people did not have that in mind
Have
yet,
you been to Russia?
that no, not yet.
Because I'm telling you that the way you described it is just something a Russian grandmother would say.
Okay, that's good then. If they are that rational,
But those
that-
people don't think about any higher material things, right? They just mostly are hardy people.
yeah, that's the thing. Hearty people lead by intuition. You know, the thing when you remember I told you, it does not have to be in a certain way. It's the experience which tells. If you have that perception, you know, of values, peace, and just lead by what is good for you and the good for other people, then that's it. You know, it does not.
I could actually.
You're very much against the way, I think,
I
which
could
is very
actually-
resistible. I could see very intensely.
No, because I see you have a certain narrative, but I actually one up you and say there's no need for a narrative. You could just say whatever works.
That's what I said.
But unless
What works for me is that, and what works for others is different.
yeah. But unless you are willing to actually see, well, to test your own beliefs,
Yes.
then it doesn't.
Yes, and have tested it. But how? It's an
Well,
experience, as we say.
I think that's the point we should stop about the level of how, because then we would just discuss, well,
Exactly.
what's your method? Right.
Exactly, you know. So it's about you knowing and you experiencing something. You know, we come back to the same thing, right? So you say testing. So I say, okay, how is testing?
All
Everyone
right.
has a
So
different way.
so whatever works plus feedback.
Feedback, of course. If you feel peaceful, for example, when you do something, that's feedback, right?
But why wouldn't you just use drugs?
Drugs. Which kind of drugs?
Heroin, specifically.
Okay, so what will that give you?
I would assume everything you mentioned, just quicker.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay, and then afterwards, what will happen?
Depends on the dose.
Okay, that's the feedback. You know, with time, what will happen? What will happen when we don't take it?
I mean,
That's a feedback with time, right? You see, it's
No,
not
no,
only
no,
about
there-
the momentarily
there
thing.
are a lot of people who use heroin responsibly.
Okay. What I said is whatever works for you. You should research.
Oh, so
See
you are
what-
saying that you could use drugs.
See, I know
All right,
that you are
all right.
coming at me. That's fine.
All right.
But the thing is, what works for you? You should read about the effect of the drug, what it does to your system, what it does to your body. I will not discuss medical things now, but the thing is, what it does to your body, what does it to your... so you have the knowledge in the internet, you can just Google it, right? So it's not about using a drug only, you should see the collective. And what works for you and your body. What works for you is basically your physical, mental state and spiritual state. Whatever it's cocaine, heroin, ayahuasca, hash, whatever it is. You should see how it works for you, but also you should have the knowledge around it and not just, you know, take something like that. If you really lead by intuition, you can lead.
All right, but so speaking about comfort zones, when will you try heroin?
It does not have to, like, my comfort zone does not have to go to heroin because I just have to go out
Why?
of the comfort zone.
Why?
Because I
But
believe
you should
it's
experience new things.
not everything. I
Why?
should be responsible about my body.
Why?
Why?
No.
Because
you
I
have to be. You have
the
to
concept
be
is
No. You
the
have to be
concept is
responsible.
safety for my body and myself,
Yeah, but
right? And
why
my
do you-
mental state.
Yeah,
what
but
works for me? I don't believe that.
Yeah,
heroin
but why
works
do
for me,
you-
so I just don't do it
But why do you associate heroin with being bad to your physical body?
because I believe that.
Are you judging?
I judge
Are
what
you,
it
are you
does.
judging heroin addicts?
You're trying to get me anywhere. You can't. It's the action it does, right? We said we should watch the actions and judge the actions, right? I told you should not judge the thing itself. I did not say the heroin is all bad because you can use it some. Yeah, it's
So?
not. Yeah, it's not all
Maybe you are the
bad.
one
You can
who
take
can
the
use
extraction
it
and
responsibly.
what?
Maybe you are the one who can use
It's
the
not about
heroin
that. It's about
responsibly.
utilizing the drug itself, maybe in certain, like for example, morphine. You know, some people use it for what? For pain, right? That's a good thing. But if it becomes too much, it becomes addictive. So it depends on, does it work for you or not? But I don't believe I need morphine now or need heroin or whatever because I don't
But you
have a
haven't
proper
tried
pain,
it.
for example.
But you haven't tried it.
Yeah, but I know the effects and I don't need it. I have reached those
You
states
think
without...
you know the effects.
You're trying to get me nowhere. Just try. Just keep going if you want.
But it is like that, right? You think you know the effects because you haven't experienced them yourselves,
Okay,
right?
The thing is...
You haven't.
The thing
Right?
is... No, I have not. So the thing is that I have read about their effects and stuff, and I don't believe that I need that now, and I don't believe that I will need it. Maybe if I have severe pain, for example, then I know, okay, I can take morphine. If it's like severe, I cannot handle it, then maybe I can use morphine as doctor prescribed. I can prescribe it myself. Anything, something like that. But the thing is, there is also another thing, which is leading by intuition. Okay, if my intuition leads me to something and I feel it's the right thing, then I will do it. So whatever, the main concept, whatever works for you.
So you are a utilitarian disguised as a spiritualist.
You're trying to put me in boxes. That's the thing from the start. You know, you're
No,
trying to
'cause
put...
it's-
No, you're
easier.
trying...
Yeah, because
See,
it's easier.
the thing from the start. We said, I told you, you were trying to judge, when you're trying to judge that as that and not the actions. You know, try to just, what I would say to you,
But you
is trying
described.
to not...
No, you do.
You're trying to put you're this and that and that.
Yes.
You're trying to put me
Yes,
because you
'cause
want
you
to
already-
predict my movements and my talk.
Yes, because you
know,
talk-
and you are thinking before I
Because you talked about your actions. You don't take heroin.
Okay.
See, I'll register that.
And that's it.
He's a not heroin user.
Okay.
doesn't use heroin. All right.
Okay.
See, that's your action. I'm not judging you.
But you have not asked
But
me
you
about
don't use
everything,
heroin.
for example. You just asked about
Yeah,
one thing, so you cannot.
because it's difficult to, in a limited time.
Yes, and
ask everything.
then you put a label. Even you did not ask about everything else. So how can you put a label when you are lacking of knowledge, right?
Do you believe in the principle of
See?
20% makes the 80% of the results? The Pareto principle?
But you asked about one drug, and there is more than 100. Is much more drugs actually.
No, but I'm not speaking about absolute numbers. I'm speaking about power laws. The bell curves.
Yeah, of
all
course,
those
the bell
things.
curves. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because it's statistics and you see them, and yeah, when you take, for example, 1, 3, 5, that kind of thing, then that's very accurate, I would say. That kind, yeah, I believe in that.
So that's why I choose specific topics
Yeah, but you were wrong in that, basically.
about heroin.
No, about just putting a label just by asking about heroin or not.
Well, but I didn't put
It's lack
a
of
label.
information, and
Yeah, but I didn't
even
put
just
a-
putting a label.
No, but I didn't put a label just from one question. I mean, you told me earlier you are spiritual. You are looking to expand your boundaries. You are looking to advance your experiences. So I assumed, oh, he's looking for some heroin.
Okay, I will not discuss.
Well, anyway,
Yeah, it's just I'm just trying to convey the message.
I think
to
my
you.
logic
You don't
was
have
sound.
to put a judgment. That's what I want to tell you. Just try to not put a specific thing because maybe it's just
Oh, no,
about
but look,
percentage wise.
Yeah, but what I'm concerned about is most navigation in the world, and for navigation you have to have pinpoints. Without them, you don't have a map. Oh, the street is it was yesterday 2 meters away. Now it's 2 kilometers away.
It's not the same as human beings, but okay.
Well, why wouldn't you say so? Because there is a social map in a general sense. You have certain type of categories for emotions. You have certain categories for feelings. You have certain categories of actions. So there is a map. There are coordinates.
Mm-hmm.
There is some type of way to navigate.
Yes, but as we said, that it could
You can be an explorer in a
yes,
literal
if
sense.
you have like it takes a lot of different measurements and stuff to be very accurate.
All right, there
no
are many
psychologists
dimensions.
have made that accurate until now.
That's why I say that you
Okay,
would like
but-
Scientology, because they have 8 dimensions.
Okay. The thing is that we also need to put the spirit into the consideration.
That's the 8th for them.
Okay, and okay, I will read about it. So
Scientology.
okay,
And you can put in brackets Dianetics,
okay, so
because that's their Bible.
okay, I'm open for everything, but okay. So the thing is, yeah. So there is a lot of predictability, but there is a limitation to that predictability. We can say that's it.
Yeah. Cool.
Good.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah, it was good. It was nice, stimulating, I would say.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's nice.
I think time to go to sleep.
Yep, it was interesting. Yeah, it was. A long time since I have nice stimulations like this.
So you go next to Lithuania?
Yes, Lithuania. Yeah, Vilnius.
Mm-hmm. Never been there, right?
I've just been there, and then I came here. So
Oh, so
yeah,
you
I like Tallinn here. Yeah,
Oh.
left my bag. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you. And let me just press a lot of stop buttons.
Yes.
More.
So we say bye bye, or
Well, I mean, they get it.
okay, bye bye. Peace. And love. He will be a little